Hello, welcome again to Fair Tax Power Radio. I'm Bob Paxton,
I'm Bob Scarborough.
and we are the Fair Tax guys. Oh, you
Of
got your scrolling banner right side up this time. Congratulations.
course, the planes
Oh,
that fly the banners in, along the beach, the guys are up there reading books while while they're flying at 400 feet up, and
the,
and
the pilots are reading books that are towing these banners.
I can't tell you exactly how I know that, uh, but I'm sure there's something else going on other than flying. And it may be that they're watching people on the beach, but they do have a certain amount of no, they're not flying reading books. But
I wouldn't think so. That would be a rather noisy and vibration environment. It would be hard to read, hard to concentrate. Hey, I think you're pulling my leg there, bud.
if the banner was flying upside down, that they were paying close attention to the orientation to ground.
Well, some people may some advertiser that wants a banner towed may want it towed upside down just to get everybody to look at it. Oh, look at that! It's
That
upside down. And while they're at it, they can,
head like this to kind of read.
a lot of time. Now, I don't go to the beach very often, but the times I do, I really don't pay a whole lot of attention to the banners being towed over my head. But if one was upside down, I guess that would get my attention, and I'd try to read
Really good
it.
ones that came out during the time that I was down there, especially in the 70s and early 80s. There were some people that were very creative in their displays. Yeah.
All right. All right. Well, let's get going here on Fair Tax Power Radio. We got a couple of things to delve into today. First of which is our Congress.gov segment, my favorite part of the program. Every week when we don't have a guest, we will go up to Congress.gov and put the words Internal Revenue Code in quotes at the top of the search bar, select just the current Congress and just legislation within that current Congress. Hit the go button on that search. As the day we're recording this, 910 hits on that search, which far exceeds the number of days that Congress has been in session so far, by the way. But
Busy.
they are constantly busy messing with the tax code because the lobbyists are up there constantly handing out the campaign cash that everybody on both sides of the aisle is hopelessly addicted to. And that's one of the huge reasons we need to get rid of the income tax and replace it all with a fair tax. Well, let's go to work here. Our first contestant on the Fair Tax Power Radio Congress.gov today is HR 4115 from Representative Claudia Tenney of New York to amend the Internal Revenue Code of 1986 to exclude certain discharges of indebtedness secured by real property from income. So here's another case where they're trying to define what is and what isn't income for the purpose of the income tax. And Representative Tenney is saying, well, if you are forgiven indebtedness, and a lot of times that is considered to be taxable income, that in this case, she doesn't want that to be taxable income. Again, just none of this is a problem with a fair tax. Fair tax doesn't care how you make your money, where you make your money, how you spend your money, what you spend it on. If it's on a retail purchase of a new product or a retail service, the fair tax will be in the price of that item. But other than that, that's it. Your business is your business under the fair tax, and it's definitely not that way under the income tax.
Yeah, and like you said, not only defining what income is, but picking winners and losers, not in reality, but to show favoritism for one category of business or individual or income level, et cetera, is something else that's a challenge for
Yeah,
sure.
whoever has the best of the richest lobbyists handing out the most campaign cash gets their way with the tax cuts. Okay, let's move on here. HR 4035 is the next item up for bids here, and it says to amend the Internal Revenue Code to impose a tax on certain trading transactions. Now, this bill actually has a name on it so far. A lot of them don't have that by the time we see them. This is the Wall Street Tax Act of 2025, Representative Val Hoyle of Oregon, that's his bill. And again, he wants to amend the Internal Revenue Code to impose a tax on certain trading transactions. No further comment really necessary on that one, I don't think.
or for other purposes. I can't imagine that for other purposes is not in every one of these, because you can always come up with something later that you may not have thought about while you were putting the first piece together.
All right. Let's hop over to the Senate side for this one. S 2100. This is from Joni Ernst, Iowa. A bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to modify certain rules applicable to qualified small issue manufacturing bonds, to expand certain exceptions to the private activity bond rules for first time farmers, and for there's your other purposes.
Gotta
Do
have,
we really have to have this stuff in the tax code?
yeah, 2 years from now, 10 years from now, somebody's going to go, we can use that bill they came up with back.
Yeah, but
Since
the small issue manufacturing bonds is what this one deals with, and to expand certain exceptions to the private activity bond rules for first-time farmers. Uh, Mercy. Oh, well, how do you define a first-time farmer? Is that the first year that somebody's been in the business? I
yeah,
get.
stepped off the back porch onto the tractor, and then there you go.
Oh, mercy. All right, let's move on here. This is from also from the Senate side, Ron Wyden of Oregon, S 2094, to amend the Internal Revenue Code to modify the partnership rules for taxation of basis shifting transactions involving related parties and your favorite for other purposes. Again, something totally and 100% absolutely unnecessary with a fair tax, but we have to have it in the income tax to amend the partnership rules. So the tax code apparently includes these partnership rules that apply to basis shifting transactions involving related parties. This is why the tax code is so doggone complicated that nobody can understand it. Nobody can get their head wrapped completely around it because there's just so much of it, because it's full of stuff like this. It just is, and we need to get rid of it and replace it with a fair tax.
Agreed. I heartedly. And it's a multifaceted challenge because the fair tax is going to solve a lot of problems. The challenge in bringing it to a Congress that would be amenable to essentially, as I can see it, shoot themselves in their foot to change the way Washington has been operating for literally decades. I find that to be the biggest challenge is getting people convinced, our representatives convinced, or finding people to run and say, I'm running on the fair tax. I'm running on ending the Internal Revenue Service. We've heard that lip service from a lot of people, including the president, ending the Internal Revenue Service. But what's happened? Nothing. We're still looking.
Nothing yet. That last one, by the way, was S 2094, 2094 from Senator Wyden there in Oregon about the partnership rules for taxation of basis shifting transactions involving related parties. Oh, mercy. One more. This is H.R. 3967 from Senator Glenn Grothman of Wisconsin. This is called the Create Jobs Act. And when they've got a title on them like that, that means I got to dig into them a little bit and see what the text is. But the Create Jobs Act is a bill to amend the Internal Revenue Code to permanently allow a tax deduction at the time an investment in qualified property is made and for other purposes. Hey, Representative Grothman, I got an idea for you. If you want to create jobs in this country, how about we quit taxing the entities that create those jobs, i.e., all of the businesses that have taken their jobs overseas because it's a more favorable tax climate over there than it is here. If you really want to create jobs, get rid of the corporate income tax and watch these huge international corporations and all the jobs that have been outsourced to overseas locations. They will come flooding back to the United States. If you want to create jobs, pass the fair tax.
Without a doubt, it's time to do it. It's beyond time to do it. And, it's almost like fair tax advocates, volunteers live in a vacuum of understanding. And if I can implore our listeners and viewers to take a step out to begin the conversations with people that you know, followed by maybe setting up a meeting with your representative. Find out if they're a sponsor, co-sponsor of the fair tax. Congratulate them and thank them, and maybe even encourage them to host a town hall while they're on vacation from Washington to build a framework around your advocacy that would involve them coming out as in as much as they are able or want to present the fair tax in a positive light and start getting some press beyond our own initiatives. In other words,
Yeah.
have a representative, congressman who is a co-sponsor say, "Hey, this is something I really do believe in."
Absolutely. I tell you, going back to that survey that Jade was talking about a couple of weeks ago, then they were asking people about their opinion of replacing the income tax with a consumption tax. One of the questions in that survey was asked people flat out, have you or have you not heard of HR 25? Are you aware that the fair tax even exists? And that survey found that 24%, basically a quarter of the population, knows about the fair tax, which means three-quarters of the population don't know about the fair tax yet. So it is definitely incumbent upon us fair tax supporters to start talking it up with our friends and our neighbors and the people you go to church with and the people you work with and stuff like that, because there is still an amazingly high percentage of people. The thing's been around since 1999, over 25 years, and still three-quarters of the country has yet to even hear about it. Now, one thing that survey found that I thought was rather interesting, it said that the younger demographics, people under 45, there is a greater awareness of the existence of the fair tax in that demographic group than there is in the older demographic group, which I guess is a good idea because they're the ones that are going to be voting for years to come. But there is work to do for us fair tax people to get the word out so that more than a quarter of the population will at least be aware of what the fair tax is. And of course, one way that people get the word out and communicate with each other a long time is on social media. We've talked about that. Of course, Randy Fisher does a fantastic job representing the fair tax in various social media platforms. We give him a little hat tip on that for sure. But we want to dig into some stuff that you found on social media and react to that. So just I will turn it back your way and have at it.
Without a doubt, social media has been a challenge for some of us older folks to learn some of the new technology. That TikTok is beyond my comprehension. I'm
Mine
not
too.
technically. I understand it, but I just don't travel on that lane. I watch X. I see a lot of conversations that happen within the fair tax universe there, and I'm very impressed. And a big hat tip to all of those who are out there pushing the fair tax, including and especially Randy Fisher, who gets up every morning before the sun comes up and posts many different missives and exciting posts about the fair tax. Another one is a fellow by the name of Ramon T. Poet. We'll
Oh,
give him a
yes.
shout.
I
He's
know that name.
he posts a good bit a lot out there too.
But
Um,
the reaction to some of this stuff is in a way it's comical and in a way it's sad.
well, right, and there's again, it shows that there's a considerable amount of work to do. I'll pick one from a few years ago in June. Actually, believe it or not, June 27th, the date we're recording this program in 2022. Which, if you remember, where we were during that time. Um, Comments like, I understand why Washington, D.C. doesn't want the fair tax, but I'll never figure out why the citizenry hasn't demanded it. Followed by 67 replies from different people, and including the fair tax administrators. Uh, and again, this is where people live almost on a daily basis. I had to stop some fellow from walking out in the street the other day, put my hand out like this. because he was getting ready to cross on a red signal. Uh, but he was down. He was, sitting there looking at his phone, just going along. And so I said, "Hey, you got to wait." You know,
Yeah,
so
there's a city bus coming. Look out.
that's where we live. We live, and I only use that example as to how focused, and especially you mentioned a minute ago, the young people that may be listening or watching or tuning in to the social media channels. Uh, can we can definitely use those minds of understanding of the technology and how it works to reach them. There are some very well produced videos that have been made out there over the last number of years. Uh,
Yeah, I love the ones we tack on to the end of this program.
yeah,
At least on the video version. I think you have to edit that for the radio. But
right.
yeah, Paul Wizakowski, who now works for NASA,
Yeah.
created. There's only five of them. I wish there was more than five. We rotate those around and put one at the end of every Fairtax Power Radio program. So if we have any content creators who would like to donate their time and effort to create some more of these things, we would love to see you. And if they're good ones, we'll tack them onto the end of our show here.
And feel free to dive in and get involved at any level that you feel comfortable with your creativity and initiative to do so. One of the comments that came at the end of the post we were talking about a minute ago, the post is there was a reason this nation was founded without an income tax, and that's why we need to get rid of it. And it
Absolutely.
generated several 165 comments, a little over 1,100 shares across the different places that people found that to be rather. And sometimes the short messages are better than longer ones because
Hmm.
busy. Let's talk about what is the impression that this banner has every time I scroll it out. Simple, efficient, visible, fair tax. Um, so this one fellow that was replying to that meme, that little piece of artwork that was put up there, and this is get this now, this is 3 years ago, and a lot of it still bears relevance today. An equal tax would be a flat tax based on a balanced budget and only the needs of the government instead of wants. Only the needs of government instead of the wants. And we know what happens with the wants.
Yes.
Everybody other and the lobbyists are all bringing all their wants into the program. Unless frivolous spending is eliminated, any tax is unfair. Now, I think that folks that stop and think about it and respond, that number is increasing and has been, in my view, over the last 18 months.
I got one question for that guy. How long do you think your flat tax is going to stay flat? We mention that all the time with we've gone into and just documented the billions and billions of dollars that lobbyists spend trying to manipulate the tax code to the favor of their well-heeled clients. So even if you could wave a magic wand tomorrow and a flat tax by definition is just one where everyone pays the same percentage, that's it. How long would it stay flat? It would not. The ink wouldn't be dry on the legislation, and there would be lobbyists all over Capitol Hill trying to unflatten it again by carving out deductions and loopholes and exemptions and stuff for their clients. It will not stay flat. It won't do it. As long as you've got an income tax and as long as you've got lobbyists in this country, we are going to have the mutt mess that we currently have as a tax system. So,
Right.
and then again, I'm also reminded of what happened in Illinois a while back with their state income tax. Their state income tax in Illinois was a flat tax, same rate for everybody. And there were people up there yelling, "That's not fair. We need a graduated income tax where the higher earners pay a higher rate." So, defining what's fair, in one person's book is not fair in another person's book. It's impossible to do that. So why do you even have this debate in the tax system? Why don't we just get rid of the whole thing and pay your taxes at the cash register when you buy stuff anonymously, no problem. You get a prebate so that the taxes you pay or your basic necessities are refunded to you. That does not come out of your pocket. And that's just crazy. That people think that a flat tax is the answer to everything because it'll stay flat for about 15 nanoseconds.
Well, yeah, without a doubt, before the ink dried, as you said. Um, the thing I notice in, the responses and comments that come on social media, some are very short and sweet and direct, like nothing short of force of arms will ever make our corrupt politicians give up the power to hurt their enemies and help their friends through the tax code. So you
That's
have
that's
those,
true.
and then you have uh, folks that are thinking, and this is where I will invite our listeners to get involved, especially on X, but also where you find people that are making commentary or after they've thought through some things. Uh, the fella that that I read from just a moment ago about an equal tax would be a flat tax based on a balanced budget, so on and so forth. So he says this, he's been thinking about this. So the idea is it's now a point of education for not only the poster, the person that posted, but also an opportunity for us to go in and say, well, the flat tax is flat for 15 nanoseconds. It still has the income tax attached to it. And now the fair tax eliminates the Internal Revenue Service. And of course, by virtue of a constitutional amendment, repeals the 16th Amendment as part of the plan.
Yeah, I got another question for you. If you want to come up with the best tax system possible, this guy thought it was a flat tax. How about you just take a blank sheet of paper, you hire a team of crack economists from all the way across the country, you give them one assignment. Design me the best tax system you possibly can that creates the same amount of revenue for the government as our current income tax, and see what these experts come up with. Oh, guess what? That's been done. Guess what they came up with? The fair tax.
So the and again, it's the conversation. If you feel led as a fan of this radio program, you followed the fair tax for a long time, start watching for the comments that are made inside of like for instance on X, the fair tax official page, which is at fair tax official. And you see people posting certain things on there, make a kind response to them and say, this is how it works. And you can go to this page, fairtax.org/FAQ, or, something along those, wherever you can provide an answer. And so most of the time you'll find a response from the administrator or administrators of our social media pages that are out there. You get a you get a chance to do some education there, because we know that if you're watching this show and have for almost 480 episodes or so, you understand a good bit about what the fair tax is all about.
Indeed.
I mentioned a fellow by the name of Ramon T. Poet just a minute ago. Whether that's his real name or not, it doesn't matter. But he has some good posts every so often to explain the fair tax. The fair tax, the key to recover and restore the gravely wounded constitutional republic principles and edicts. Wake up, America. We've been duped and swindled for many decades. The IRS is the major tool for political hacks. It is a platform for lobbying and bribery. So you read these, and they're sometimes entertaining from Ramon, but at the same time, they make you stop and think for a minute. So I'll go back to what I said a minute ago. Please consider following the different channels on Facebook that have that are fair tax related. Please follow Fair Tax Official on X. And get involved in those discussions, But at the same time, turn outside of social media. Don't get run over by the bus while you're looking at your phone. Make sure that you're out there responding and communicating with people. And I'll tell you this, for those of us who have fair tax co-sponsors in our neck of the woods in the House of Representatives, we need to make sure that we are in communication with them, encouraging them and thanking them for being a part of bringing the fair tax to fruition. I think because of the looming tax situation, the deficits that we're experiencing, the national debt is just getting ready to get added onto again here. I think
Yeah.
we the chance of getting moving the needle even further forward, especially if we keep the light shining on getting rid of the Internal Revenue Service as part of the program.
Amen. I tell you what, yeah, you need to get Virginia Fox back on board up there in North Carolina, and we've got to get Cat Cabot back on board down here in Florida. With I'm afraid that the big beautiful bill, is just sucking all the oxygen out of the room up there in Congress now. But when that is finally settled, one way or the other, that we can continue to go back, and again, we can encourage people to write letters or send emails, a phone call. But actually, if you really want to get noticed by your congressional representative, get an appointment with them, show up at their office, hand them one of the palm cards that you get from the fair tax store. I mean, it doesn't take much effort to sit down and bang out an email to somebody, but when you take the time and effort to actually go show up in person at your congressional representative's office, be it in Washington, D.C., or their office back there in the home district, it's probably the easier one to get to. That makes an impression. So we will encourage folks to do that for sure, as well as continue to be heard on social media. But I tell you what's fun. One of these social media comments I hear all the time reminds me of a parrot. Taxation is theft. Taxation is theft.
That's right.
There's really not much dealing with that, but if folks can understand that taxation is basically the price how you pay for the government services that you demand and want, that the question becomes, what is the best way to do that? And again, we gave that assignment to some of the most noted economists in the country back in the late 1990s. Gave a blank sheet of paper, says design the best tax system you can. What they came up with wasn't called the fair tax immediately, but what is the fair tax today is the result of economists with a blank sheet of paper with the charge to come up with the best tax system there was. And if you think you can come up with a better one, have at it.
Well, and the other side of that is we have that opportunity within the fair tax, HR 25. Designed by economists, or the income tax, which we currently have, that's designed by politicians
and lobbyists. Amen. Well, I'll tell you, so we need to get rid of the lobbyist system and implement the economist system. And we got to run because we're slap out of time again here on Fair Tax Power Radio. Thanks again so much for watching, listening, sharing the videos, talking about the fair tax with your family and friends. And we will see you back here next week. Same time, same channel. Until we meet again, I'm Bob Paxton.
Bob Scarborough.
We are the Fair Tax Guys, reminding you the fair tax is the only truly fair tax, and once you understand it,
you'll demand it.
So, how much will I bring home?
Go ahead.
How much do you make? We'll just say 40,000. Okay, keep it simple, throw out the deductions, all that stuff. So, you got your 40K, right? Now the first 8,000 is going to be taxed at 10%. The 8 to 33,000 is going to be taxed at 15%. And the 33 to 40, of course, is 25%. So that brings your total to $6,345.
Okay, so the average is what?
16%. Okay, and on top of that, you got Medicare, which is 1.5%, and then of course your Social Security, which is 6.2%. So actually, your new total is $9,405.
Which is
23.65%. You're getting it. You're getting it. Don't even get me started on what the boss has to pay. He's got to pay a portion of your taxes as well, so you don't have to.
Right. And you?
Oh, you'd bring home every penny.